Today we're in Odaiba. It's an area in Tokyo Bay. It's actually man-made reclaimed land and there's lots of things to do here, so today I'm going to show you some of them. Odaiba is spacious, futuristic and has its own feel. I think it's an interesting place to spend a day or half a day, depending on how much time you have and what you're interested in. So today I'm going to run through what there is to do. There's quite a lot, and at the end I'll tell you how to get there and how to get around. There's new Japan videos on my channel every Thursday if you want to subscribe, and I'm also on Twitter and Instagram as Cakes with Faces. I'm always posting things about Japan and my designs and pictures of my hamster. Now, Odaiba isn't always included in lists of top 10 things to do in Tokyo or things you should do on your first trip, but I think it's a really interesting place to come and I don't know why it's not featured.
No, I think a lot of the times it's featured because of the giant Gundam that's here. So people say, oh, you should visit that, and that's quite cool, and I don't think you can see that anywhere else. But Odaiba to me has just got a really nice feel to it, and I don't know if that's just because it's the first place we came on our first visit to Japan.
It was. Maybe. It seems like a bit of a strange place to pick for your first day, but that's what we did on our first day ever here.
It's quite laid back. It's like because it's man-made and relatively modern, it kind of handles all the traffic properly.
It's a bit more spacious than a lot of other places in Tokyo, and it looks really modern and futuristic. There's some interesting architecture around here, like the Fuji TV Building, big site, and a lot of other ones. It's
a real contrast to the rest of Tokyo, where somewhere like Shinjuku, it's really, really cool, but it's so dense and compact, and it's a mismatch of everything, which is really nice in its own way.
Yeah, that's what's good about that.
But then you come here, and it's the complete opposite. Everything's big and wide open, and that's really nice as well. There's quite a few things to do here. If you're into shopping, that's not a thing we particularly like to do, but there's 3-4 malls here.
Yeah, there's several shopping malls: Dex Tokyo Beach, Diver City, and Aqua City Odaiba. But the most interesting one is Venus Fort. It has 3 levels, and one is classical European style with a fake sky ceiling. It's just like Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. There's statues, fountains and everything. Once I even saw a couple there having wedding photos. The giant Gundam is just outside Diver City Mall. Anyone can go along and have a look at it. And even if you're not into Gundam, it's still pretty cool, and it really is huge. Every so often it transforms and does a mini show, and there's also a shop and a Gundam cafe. You've also got the seaside park, which is nice on the beach. You can't go swimming or anything, but it's nice to stroll around or have your lunch or something, and you've got a nice view of Tokyo across the river. And you can also combine going to Odaiba with going to Asakusa or the Sky Tree and that sort of area, or maybe even Akihabara is in that area too, because you can get a boat going up the river, which is always nice when you're on a trip. My favourite one's called the Himiko. It was actually designed by an anime artist, so it looks really cool and futuristic.
We went on that. Is that in a video?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll link the video to that. And that is really cool, especially on a nice day. You cruise down the river, you get to see a few things like the Asahi buildings right at the end of it, and you just get to see a bit of Tokyo. I don't think there's anything really remarkable on the journey, but it's just a nice way to spend an hour or so.
As well as the Himiko, there's also 2 other boats called the Hotaluna and Emeraldas. They're all quite similar, and one of them has an outdoor deck. There's also a load of other things here too, like the Science Museum, Miraikan, which is really good, really interesting.
Asimo there.
Yes,
if you don't know Asimo, he's I don't know how advanced he is these days, but he's always was touted as a really advanced robot. He was the first one that could properly run and carry stuff upstairs and things. It's quite cool to see.
He's Honda's robot, and I've got a video of him from our first trip to Tokyo on my terrible camera back then that was probably half a megapixel. I really enjoyed Miraikan, the Science Museum. There's lots of robots, there's a model showing how the internet works, and you can go inside a model of the space station. There's also the Digital Art Museum, TeamLab Borderless, and there's a temporary exhibition from them as well at the moment called TeamLab's Planets. And the special thing about that one is it's got water, so you have to take your shoes off and go wading through water, and they do projections on the top of the water and things.
That's nice.
I really enjoyed TeamLab Borderless. It's a really different, unique experience with projection mapping and immersive, interactive displays. As well as being beautiful, it's also really fun, with parts you can climb through and things you can play with that aren't just for kids. There's a video on my channel.
You've also got Toyota Megaweb, which is basically just a Toyota showroom now.
Showroom turned into tourist attraction.
Yeah, they've got a few things you can do, like design your own car kind of thing. And you can go on a little test ride around. I've never done that. It's kind of interesting, but it's not necessarily a reason to come here on its own.
You might as well have a stroll around if you're there.
Yeah.
If you like cars, there's also the Toyota History Garage, which is a small collection of vintage cars. It's free to look round.
That's in the area where there's a giant Ferris wheel that is really tall, and I've got a bit of a problem with heights, so I don't know if I really want to go on that or not. The one we went on in Osaka was quite high. I was all right with it though.
The Ferris wheel is 115 metres tall. There's views of Tokyo and the bay, and apparently on a clear day you can see Mount Fuji. It's right next to Venus Fort and TeamLab Borderless. The area it's in is called Palette Town, which is named after an artist's paint palette, and at night the Ferris wheel's lit up in rainbow colours, just like the Rainbow Bridge.
There's also, can you go up the Fuji Building for a
Yeah,
few?
I think there's a free observation deck in there.
Really?
If you walk in with enough confidence.
Free as
Well,
in, I'm pretending to work here. We could see that.
We could, yeah. Get a nice view of Tokyo across the bay. After this, we went to investigate the Fuji TV Building, and unfortunately it isn't free. But there is an observation deck, and it's an interesting building to take pictures of. If you like the anime One Piece, there's a themed restaurant. There's also an onsen theme park here.
Here?
Yeah. It's called Onsen something Monogatari, I think. And it's got a lot of different themed onsen you can go around.
Didn't know that.
Oedo Onsen Monogatari is probably the least traditional way to experience an onsen, which is a natural hot spring bath. Usually they're in relaxing, picturesque towns in the countryside. But if you're not travelling outside Tokyo, this is a way to experience one in the form of a theme park. There's several different types of traditional baths, but there's also mixed foot baths where you can wander around in a yukata, that's a lightweight kimono. There's a historic Edo period themed food court and traditional Japanese sideshow games. And of course, Odaiba is where Big Sight is, which is the main convention centre in Tokyo. So if you're going to a big event, or they have big cosplay events here as well, design festa and all sorts of things. It's worth checking if anything's on while you're there. Big Sight is where they have the big anime conventions and comiquettes. So if you want to see cosplayers while you're in Japan, this is where you'd see them. Next, the Trick Art Museum is so much fun. You pose with optical illusions on the walls, and you'll go home with hundreds of really silly photos. It's such a unique place. There's a video about it on my channel. Now, a new attraction in Odaiba is the Unko Museum, which means the Poop Museum. It's in Odaiba City Tokyo Plaza shopping mall. The theme is Max Unko Kawaii, which means maximum poop cuteness. There's games and exhibits like poop drawn by famous people. But it's mostly made for Instagram, just like the Museum of Ice Cream, with backdrops for you to pose with and take lots of pictures with the cute poop. Sega Joypolis, I always want to call it Joyopolis, is an indoor theme park with simulators, rides and VR attractions. The Takoyaki Museum isn't really a museum, it's more a collection of themed food stalls selling different types of takoyaki, which is octopus in batter with a tasty savoury sauce. There's a small takoyaki themed arcade and even a takoyaki shrine. There's a Madame Two Swords with waxwork models of famous people, just like all the other ones around the world. Next, the Legoland Discovery Centre. I can't really tell you that much about this one because you're only allowed in if you have a child with you. It's very unfair. It's an indoor attraction aimed at children aged 3 to 10. There's several other museums too, which I haven't been to, so I can't say how good they are for foreigners. There's the Tokyo Water Science Museum, which is free and it's mainly for kids. There's the Museum of Maritime Science, which is also free. That's about ships. And carrying on the kind of water theme, there's the Sewerage Museum, which is about sewers, and that one's free as well. Next, how to get to Odaiba. You can get there on the Rinkai or Yurakamome lines. You can use your Suica card just like all the other lines. The train goes over the Rainbow Bridge, so you get some great views of Tokyo Bay and all the really interesting architecture on Odaiba. You can also walk across the Rainbow Bridge, but you are walking alongside the traffic. Or you can go by boat from the Shiodome area or from Asakusa. Finally, how to get around Odaiba. Once you're there, it's pretty easy to get around. A lot of the places I've mentioned are walkable. There's also several stations, and there's a free Tokyo Bay shuttle bus that does a loop. So if you fancy a break away from the rest of Tokyo where everything's really crammed in and you want somewhere more spacious to go, Odaiba is a good place to come. There's lots more ideas for things to do in Tokyo on my channel, and new videos every Thursday if you want to subscribe. I'll see you next week.